You stand in the pro shop, and the fitting cart gleams under the fluorescent lights. A $600 driver sits in your hands, and the pro says you need a stiff shaft because you have a strong swing. You nod because that is what everyone believes. Stiff means control. Stiff means power. Stiff is what the better players use. But the data tells a different story, one that begins not on the launch monitor, but in a quiet laboratory where engineers measure how a golf shaft actually behaves when it meets a human swing. If you have ever paid a premium for stiff shafts and then watched your drives come up 10 yards short of your buddy with the hand-me-down regular flex, you know that dull ache of wondering what you did wrong. The system has taught you that expensive, stiff equipment is a mark of skill, and that spending more means playing better. But the system is wrong, and the proof sits in a stack of peer-reviewed studies and launch monitor data from thousands of amateur swings. Here is what the evidence shows. After the age of 55, the average male golfer swings a driver at around 78 miles per hour. That number comes from TrackMan's massive database of over 1 million recorded swings, and it has been verified by Golf Digest's own equipment tests. To properly load a stiff flex shaft, to bend it at the right point in the downswing, and release that stored energy into the ball, you need a swing speed of at least 85 miles per hour. Below that threshold, the shaft does not bend enough. It stays rigid, and a rigid shaft does not help you generate club head speed. It fights you. If you've ever felt that fight, you're not alone. Subscribe to keep uncovering these quiet leaks in the golf industry. Data that the pros and pro shops don't want you to see. And in the comments, type stiff myth if this is the first time you've heard that your shaft might be fighting your swing. Think about that for a moment. The majority of golfers over 55 are swinging too slowly to activate the very technology they paid extra for. They are holding a piece of equipment that is designed for a different athlete, a younger player, or a stronger one. And every time they swing it, they are losing distance, feel, and accuracy. The shaft they thought would fix their slice is actually making it worse, because a shaft that does not load properly promotes a steep over-the-top move that sends the ball spinning off to the right. But the cost of this mistake goes far beyond the purchase price. The average stiff shaft upgrade adds between $50 and $100 to the price of a driver. Over a decade of buying new drivers every 3 years, which many golfers do, chasing the promise of more yards, that is an extra $300 to $600 spent on a feature that actively hurts your game. That is not an investment. That is a quiet leak in your wallet that you never noticed because the pro told you it was the right choice, and you trusted him. Now consider the second layer of this trap. When you cannot load the shaft, you lose the ability to shape shots and control trajectory. The golf ball launches lower, spins less, and lands hard with no check. You are not just losing distance. You are losing the joy of watching a ball float down the fairway. You are paying to feel disconnected from the game. And the entire equipment industry has built a narrative that tells you the problem is your swing, not the shaft. So you buy more lessons, more gear, more hope. The mechanism is brutally simple. Shaft manufacturers know that most amateurs swing too slowly for stiff, but they also know that stiff shafts cost more to produce and that golfers are status-driven. If you put a regular shaft in a flagship driver, the $600 price tag feels a little too close to the $400 model. So they reserve the premium price point for stiff, and they market it as the serious golfer's choice. The result is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You buy stiff to feel serious, and then you play worse because the shaft does not match your body. Here is the truth that ties all of this together. In 1954, a golf engineer named Frank Thomas, the same man who invented the modern golf ball, wrote a paper arguing that shaft flex should be matched to the golfer's tempo and transition, not just their swing speed. He warned that too stiff shafts were being sold to amateurs who couldn't use them. 70 years later, his warning is more relevant than ever. The data from 2023's MyGolfSpy shaft review showed that players over 55 gained an average of 12 yards of carry distance when they switched from their current stiff shaft to a regular flex with a lighter weight. 12 yards. That 12-yard gap is the difference between a system that works for you and one that works against you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next time we crack open a myth that's costing you distance and money. Drop 12 yards in the comments if you've ever made a switch that changed your game, or if you're ready to try. That is the moment the system cracks open. You are not getting better by buying stiff. You are getting worse, and you are paying for the privilege. The forgotten principle here is that the golf shaft is a spring, and a spring that never compresses does not launch anything. It just thuds. If you have ever stood on the tee with a stiff-shafted driver, taken a full swing, and felt the club head lag behind your body, you know the sensation of fighting your own equipment. You felt it in your wrists and your lower back. You felt it in the short, low ball flight that never seemed to carry far enough. That feeling is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of mismatch. And the industry has been telling you to blame yourself. But the second layer of this myth is even more insidious. Many golfers over 55 are actually losing swing speed because their shafts are too stiff. When a shaft does not load, the body compensates by swinging harder, tighter, and with less fluidity. That additional tension slows you down further. Your body cannot relax into the swing because the shaft is demanding strength you no longer have. So you grip tighter, swing stiffer, and lose another 2 or 3 miles per hour in speed. Over a season, that compounds into a permanent loss of distance. The solution is not a secret. It is a regular flex shaft, or even a senior flex for players whose swing speed has dropped below 75 miles per hour, paired with a lighter overall weight. The latest equipment data from Golf Digest's hot list shows that lightweight regular flex shafts in drivers under 55 grams have become the standard recommendation for golfers over 55. They produce higher launch, more spin, and a full 12 to 15 extra yards of carry compared to a stiff shaft. The same data shows that accuracy does not suffer. In fact, dispersion tightens because the golfer can feel the club head throughout the swing. Now, consider what that means for your bank account. A regular flex shaft in a quality driver costs the same as the base model. You are not paying a premium. You are saving money and gaining distance. Over a decade, that is hundreds of dollars back in your pocket and hundreds of yards back in your game. The smart insider does not buy what the pro suggests. They buy what the data proves. That's the difference between following tradition and following truth. Subscribe so you never miss another insider expose. And if this revelation hits close to home, I want you to type this exact phrase in the comments. If this resonates with you, there's a lot more where this came from. Link in the description and pinned comment. That tells me we're on the same wavelength, and it helps others find this truth too. Let us close this with a sensory image. Picture yourself on the first tee of your home course. You have just replaced your stiff-shafted driver with a regular flex that matches your swing. You take a smooth, unhurried swing, and the shaft bends at the perfect point in your downswing. The ball launches high, carries the fairway bunker, and lands soft with a gentle draw. Your playing partner asks what you did differently, and you smile because you know the truth. You stopped paying for a lie. And here is my question for you. Have you ever bought a premium upgrade that you later suspected was wrong for your game? Tell me in the comments which piece of equipment betrayed you. I want to hear the story. You are not alone in that moment. The quiet recognition of being played by a system you trusted, that is the feeling this entire industry was built to avoid giving you. And the proof that you have broken free is simple. You now know that the shaft should bend for you, not against you. The next time you stand in a pro shop and the fitting cart gleams under those fluorescent lights, you will not nod when someone tells you that stiff means better. You will ask for the numbers. You will ask for the weight and the flex that matches your age, your tempo, and your swing speed. And you will walk out with a club that works for you, not one that works for the manufacturer's profit margin. Because the system was never about making you play better. It was about making you pay more. And the most powerful weapon you have against that system is not a faster swing or a stronger grip. It is the cold, quiet knowledge of what the data actually says. That knowledge costs nothing, and it can save you hundreds of dollars and dozens of strokes every single year. So here is the quiet truth that no fitting cart will ever tell you. The most expensive shaft in the shop is not the one that costs $200 extra. It is the one that does not match your body, because every swing you take with it costs you a little bit of distance, a little bit of feel, and a little bit of the joy that brought you to the game in the first place. That is the real price of the stiff shaft myth. It is not just the $50 or $100 you overspent at the register. It is the 10,000 swings you take over the next 3 years, each one a little shorter, a little tighter, a little less satisfying. And the entire industry has built its pricing model around you never connecting those dots, because as long as you believe the problem is your swing, you will keep buying solutions that never solve anything. But now you know better. The next time you pull that driver out of your bag, you will feel the weight and the flex in your hands, and you will know whether it bends for you or against you. And if it fights you, you will not blame yourself. You will blame the data mismatch, and you will fix it with a simple trade, not a lesson and not a new grip, and not another $100 shaft upgrade. That knowledge is your shield. Subscribe to arm yourself with more of these forgotten principles, the ones the industry hopes you never find. And in the comments, tell me one piece of equipment you currently suspect is mismatched for your game. Let's start a list of proven swaps that can save strokes and dollars. That is the forgotten principle of the golf shaft. It is not a status symbol. It is a spring. And a spring that never compresses is just an expensive stick. The quietest victory in golf is not a 300-yard drive. It is the moment you realize the club in your hands was designed for the player you actually are, not the player the marketing department wanted you to believe you should be.